up, my friend? Can you hear me well? Well, it's on a shivering day from this side of the world. Some bit of some rain and cold. How is the weather from where you're watching from? Now, today I have some things with me. Some colored greens, a beetroot here. Yeah, you can see it's a beetroot. Yeah, and some mango. This one, you might ask yourself, how does it look like in the inside? Well, my friend, hold on. You shall be seeing me as I munch on it. You shall get to have a look. Now, good vibes, child of God. We are all made in the image and likeness of God and are given free will to act in our own accord. But it's so sad, my friend, of the things that go on in this world. People separating themselves because of differences of color, region of existence, among other things. Well, here, my friend, we are dedicated to ensuring that the world is full of good vibes and every soul out there is acting according to some virtues. My friend, there is some virtues here that guide us, but these are just some among many, many more virtues, which I'm sure you know some and can tell us below here. Like the first one is love, peace, honesty, forgiveness, repentance. Yeah, I'm sure you can name other more good vibes virtues down below. My friend, we are guided by humanity as we react to videos from other interesting sources in different places of the world. And all this is for good vibes sake. But my friend, we believe that you clicking this video today is not a coincidence because this is what the book of wisdom says. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose. For those God foreknew, He also predestined to be conformed to the likeness of His Son, that He might be the firstborn among many brothers. And those He predestined, He also called. Those He called, He also justified. Those He justified, He also glorified. Romans 8:28 going down. My friends, this video have been directed here because there is a message specifically for you. Watch till the end, my friend, and as you come across it, leave your thoughts down below. Before we dive in, let's ask for guidance from our wonderful Maker. Dear Lord Father, we come before you in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you for this wonderful day, Father. Dear Lord, thank you for the videos you have today. Thank you for your adorable, precious child, Father, today's viewer. Thank you for their lives. Thank you for, dear Lord, for you'll uplift their souls, Father. You'll bless them abundantly through the video, Father. Do good things to them, Father, and forgive them all their sins. And as you uplift their souls, Father, also include us. Be with us till the end, and we shall be grateful. In your holy name, Jesus Christ, we pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Let's dive in good vibes. So,
over time, our facial expressions etch onto the face. Usually by the time we're like 16, 17. So it's not like old people wrinkles. Like if someone's seeking social approval their whole life, this is how we seek approval from other people.
That's why I have the lines on my forehead.
Yeah, because I'm seeing a social person. You see a psychopath? Blank forehead.
Beautiful. Wrinkle-free.
Yes. It looks like Botox in a psychopath. You see a person that spent their whole life super happy and in full enjoyment. You're going to see these crow's feet here from smiling all the time.
On the side of the eyes.
Yeah. You see somebody who's been depressed or angry. You're going to see this muscle right here forms these two wrinkles. This is called the glabella. It forms these two wrinkles. When somebody's depressed, you see it on the face. But skepticism makes us squeeze the lower eyelid up like this. So the less skeptical someone has spent their lifetime, this is my theory. So a grain of salt, the more suggestible that person is.
I feel like I have to tell people this every few months, but if you ever see a missing person sign and it has a phone number on it that isn't the police station, don't call that phone number if you see that person. You have no idea who posted that missing person sign. It could be an abusive ex, it could be an abusive parent, it could be a stalker. You have no idea. Never call the phone number on a missing person sign. Only ever call the police station or the non-emergency line.
This is of one of the many high-rises that are really pre-positioned in a way to absorb earthquake activity just like this. Notice the pool at the top of this high-rise building and look at the water sloshing back and forth and spilling over the edges. Sometimes in these newly constructed buildings, they actually utilize pools at the tops of these high rises to dampen earthquake activity. It is acting as it's supposed to in this particular situation, and I just find this type of video extraordinary to show you the engineering feats that are in play here for these earthquake-prone areas. But of course, we've seen the not-so-fortunate buildings that have collapsed.
A while ago, I had multiple people say, hey, when you're buying cast iron, you should hit it, and if it rings, it's not cracked. If it doesn't ring well, it's cracked. So today we're going to test that theory. So for scientific purposes, I have one cracked pan, one non-cracked pan, and they're both same brand, same size, both number 9 Griswold with the small block logos, and they were both made in the same age range. So same time of production, 1944 to 1957 for both of these pans. I'm going to hold both of them with a wire, and we're going to see which one's cracked. Okay, there's one. I'm not going to cut the video. We're going to grab the opposite one. Which one do you think is cracked? Is it this one? Or is it this one? Here's the first one, number 9 Griswold with the groove handle, okay? And the other one is a number 9 Griswold without the groove handle. It's called the late handle. They're both made in the same time frame. Groove handle, late handle. Which one do you think's cracked? It might surprise you to find out the one that rang a little better is the one that's cracked. Here's the crack. I know it's hard to see, guys. I get it. But, nevertheless, it is cracked, and it rang better. This one rang better than the groove handle that has 0 cracks. So, ring a pan test to see if it's cracked or not is a scam. It's just something that people have said for decades and decades, and people believe it. And trust me, I believed it when I started out, and then I got burnt a few times, and I bought pans that I thought sounded great when I tapped on them, and then I got home and removed all the rust and the buildup, and they were cracked. And then I rang them again, and they still sounded fine. So, don't trust that method.
I don't know who's going to get this, but one day, me and my homie, we was in the car, and we was just talking about being spiritual beings, right? And how on the other side of this 3D, like in the different dimensions, how we're beings of light, right? And I was telling him how I was able to discern like different people. I don't know how I'm able to do it, but I can just see somebody and know that they're not a person. I don't know. But nonetheless, we were in the car, we were at the park, we was talking, right? And I was telling him how I can see, or I can tell when people aren't really like people. At this same exact time, there was this lady that was walking by, or she was walking towards like the car, right? Now, she wasn't walking towards the car, but she was walking, mind you, it's a park, so she's walking her dog. And as I'm telling him this, right, she comes and approaches the car, like she approaches the window, and she says, hey, what are you guys listening to? Mind you, we were listening to music. We were just chilling in the car. This older white lady, she doesn't, I don't know who she is, right? But I'm telling bruh at this same time that I'm able to see or able to recognize demons or people that are not human. And then she walks up to the car. We tell her like, it was just a random song or whatever. And she says, oh, okay. And then she walks off and continues her walk down. I said, bruh, that was one of them. Legit. I said, bro, that was one of them. And I kid you not, bro, I felt like the tears in my eyes because I had no other explanation, but I knew that she knew that I knew. You feel what I'm saying? And that's why she walked up to the car to check my temperature to see if...
This is how to train your dog to be tactical. Simplified version. First, we're going to train them how to middle. Have treats in both hands. Lure them round your leg with a treat. Don't give it to them. Instead, lure them through your legs with your other hand. Mark yes and give them the treat. Give them a second treat to add duration. Then say free and throw another treat. This teaches them to stay in position until release. Continue practicing this until it becomes smoother. Over time, your lure will get smaller until it becomes a gesture. It is at this point that I also name the behavior. Once they understand the verbal cue, you can fade your gesture. Now it's time to add movement. Start with tiny steps and allow them to eat from your hand the entire time you're moving. Now reward every other step. Make sure to use both hands. Continue adding additional steps. Now it's time to add turns. Following the same process as moving forward. Turn a tiny amount and then reward. Gradually build this up over time. Until you can do this. Make sure to practice both directions. Make sure to remember to always end in a release cue. Now on to moving backwards. Food goes under the chin and lures them backwards. Mark yes and reward for any backward movement. Gradually increase the amount of steps. Add a verbal cue, back. Change the position of your hands to above them. And now combine it with the middle position. Start with tiny steps and then build them up over time. And now you're officially tactical.
80,000 pages of documents is a lot to sit through. Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy?
Well, you know, I was given the task of releasing that because many presidents have gone through it and they haven't released. And I said, release. We even released Social Security numbers. I didn't want anything deleted. I don't think there's anything that's earth-shattering, but you'll have to make that determination.
So I just saw a post that said, if you lose your eyeballs, you wouldn't see nothing, not darkness, not pitch black, you wouldn't see nothing. And in the comments, somebody was like, but you would see darkness. And it was like, cover one eye, leave the other one open. What do you see on that eye that you cover? Bitch, it's not dark, but it's nothing.
When I saw this video, I was dying laughing because it is by far the hardest thing to grasp that if you don't have an eyeball, you see nothing. There's no black, there's no darkness, it is literally nothing. In order for us to further understand this idea of seeing nothing when you have an eye removed, we have to understand visual processing and what it's like to have a binocular field of view. Binocular vision means that we have two eyes that give us a wider field of view so that we can see better in our peripheral vision when both eyes are open. In order for this to happen, light travels into the eye and hits the retina of both eyes from many different angles, and all of this information is collected and sent back to the visual cortex to process our binocular field of view. Let's say we just cut off the right eye. That means that no light can go into the eye because it's completely removed. And that means that the visual processing center in the brain is not being stimulated like the other eye. That means that the brain does not process any information, hence why you see absolutely nothing. This is the exact same thing as if you had an eye eviscerated and removed out of the orbit, where basically it was just flesh or tissue. You don't have the eye there, you can't see out of it, so you see nothing. Rather than seeing darkness or blackness, you see nothing because there is nothing stimulated in the brain. And in fact, it just makes your visual field a lot shorter and your peripheral vision a lot worse.
Let me read it to you. At 11:44 a.m., this is the text that I received. Hexeth posts in the chat, team update, and then the text begins, all caps. Time now, 11:44 Eastern Time. Weather is favorable, all caps. Just confirmed, all I don't know why everything was in all caps. With CENTCOM, we are a go for mission launch. The Hexeth text continues, 12:15 Eastern Time. F-18's launch, all caps. First strike package. 13:45, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts, parentheses, target terrorist at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drone launch, MQ-9s. MQ-9s are the Reaper drones. And then, you know, and obviously to just make this point, it's like everybody on this chain is getting texts about an attack that hasn't even launched yet. And if this signal chat had been read by an adversary of the United States, I mean, you could use your imagination where that could go. Then the Hegseth text continues, 14:10, meaning 2:10 p.m. Eastern time. More F-18s launch, second strike package, 14:15, strike drones on target, and then in parentheses, all capital letters. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop.
Oh, my God.
Ending earlier trigger-based targets, 15:36, another 3:36 p.m. Eastern F-18 second strike starts, also first sea-based Tomahawks launch. In other words, which weapons we're using, what time we're using them, and obviously using standoff weapons or using unmanned aircraft, obviously a different category. I mean, obviously still secret, but a different category than using piloted aircraft. And then at the end of that particular chain, he says, we are currently clean on OPSEC, meaning that's operational security. And of course, I read this, I'm sitting in my car in a Safeway parking lot reading, we are currently clean on OPSEC. And, you know, parentheses, except for the fact that you're mistakenly sending this to the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic.
What would be a sign that I had low testosterone if I'm a man?
Belly fat, gynecomastia, that's when you get breast development. Mood changes, mood swings, irritability, depression, cardiovascular changes, erectile dysfunction, decreased libido.
What about in a woman? So if a woman has low testosterone, what are the symptoms we see in a woman?
They're similar. So both sexes have fatigue. That's very common. Decreased libido. They might be working out at the gym and not seeing a response. They might have some hair loss. And testosterone in women has a few unique features. Like one of the things we've seen looking at MBA students who are getting a master's in business administration, is that the women with higher testosterone tend to be more comfortable with financial risk. I believe it also tracks with confidence and agency. We have less hard data on that, but those are some of the things that I see. It's a hormone of vitality in both men and women.
So if a woman is low testosterone, she might be less confident, have less motivation, less agency.
Less willing to take risks, less sex drive.
Why is peekaboo such an important game?
Watch. I'm gone, I'm back. I'm gone, I'm back. When you have a young child, if you show like a 6-month-old, like a pair of glasses on the table, you cover it with a napkin, they like move on. They don't realize that it's there anymore. They don't have what's called object permanence. Object permanence is your cognitive capacity to understand that things and people, person permanence, exist even when they're not with you. And so when you're 9 months old, 10 months old, and certainly by 11 months, you have object and person permanence. So now if I'm a baby looking at the glasses and my dad covers the glasses up with a napkin, I'm going to lift up the napkin and find the glasses. And when my mom or dad goes like this, peekaboo, they're saying, I'm gone, I'm back. I'm gone, I'm back. I always come back. And they're exercising that muscle. And that's why it's such a really important game to play with kids. And that's why they love it. No one is tricking you or sneaking out on you. It makes you trust. It just teaches you, like you grow that muscle, that people still exist even when they go away.
Here's a tip for all the neurodivergent people who don't understand how small talk works. Say the day of the week. If someone asks you, oh, how are you? Just say the day of the week that it is. And neurotypicals love that shit. Was your coworker like, morning, how are you doing? Oh, I'm good. How? They say. Coworker says, oh, I'm good. How are you? You say, well, it's Monday. And they go, oh, yeah, it is Monday. Well, it's Tuesday. Well, yeah, it's Tuesday. At least it's not Monday. It works for every day of the week. It's Thursday. Well, oh, it's almost Friday. Well, it's Friday. Yep, it's Friday. It's almost the weekend. Oh, it's Wednesday. I know, middle of the week, Wednesday. It works. Helpful for everybody. For us neurodivergent people, it makes our lives easier because someone needs to tell me the rules that I can follow. Someone needs to tell me. And it makes the lives of the neurotypical people that we must interact with on a day-to-day basis, it makes their lives easier too, because then we know the rules. And my coworkers don't have to deal with me being like weirdly oversharing first thing in the morning on a Monday.
Since Democrats seem to struggle answering this question, I wanted to ask you, what is a woman and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me because a woman is somebody that can have a baby maybe under certain circumstances, she has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man. I've always been. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. And a woman is a person that in many cases has been treated very badly, because I think that what happens with this crazy issue of men being able to play in women's sports is just ridiculous and very unfair to women and very demeaning to women. And that's got to be about a 94%. I read today it was a 94% issue. And I watched the other day, I watched a congressman, a well-known Democrat congressman, fighting for the fact that men should be allowed to compete essentially in women's sports. And I say, I hope they keep that going, because they'll never win another election. That's a big deal.
This is why it's $1.
Doctor here, and I don't intend to fearmonger, but you're not going to see me eating raw oysters. Amongst many other things, raw oysters can contain Vibrio. Have you heard of Vibrio? Yeah, you have. It's called flesh-eating bacteria. And that's exactly what it can do. It can flesh-eat your appendages, require amputations, it can take you to the ICU, and 1 in 5 actually die despite optimal care. There's not that many things on earth that can clip you at 20% rate, and this is one of them.
They wanted to know if low performers infect the people around them and if high performers infect the people around them. It's 58,000 working hours over 11 different companies. So a huge amount of data. What they found was if you sit within 25 feet of a high performer, your own performance improves by 15%. Here's the kicker. If you sit within 25 feet of a low performer, your own performance decreases by 30%. This means that our negative emotions are more contagious. That if you're around people who are low performers, whatever that means to you, who have negative cues, who are feeling anxious or tired or low confident, you could catch those cues and that affects your own performance. This is why it is incredibly critical to invest in the 5 people who you spend the most time with. You want to make sure those 5 people are the cues you want to catch. Do you like the cues they're sending? Do they give you the right motivation, feelings? Do they make you feel liked? Do they make you a better version of yourself?
If you're okay with existential panic, keep watching. How real is anything? Our eyes can only see visible light, and that's just 0.0035% of the entire electromagnetic spectrum, so we're blind to over 99% of the world. Not just that, but we have a hole in the back of the eye where the optic nerve exits the eyeball. There are no photoreceptors here, but instead of seeing holes, the brain fills in the blanks with its memory instead of real-time information. Similarly, our hearing range is limited from 20 Hz to around 20,000 Hz. Above and below this, our brain is deaf to those sounds. The world is noisy and we're deaf to most of it. Animals, plants and bugs communicate with each other, and it's even thought that plants scream when they're cut, emitting ultrasonic screams. Same thing with smell. We've trained dogs to sniff out cancer, Parkinson's and even COVID. But our olfactory neurons are just nowhere near complex enough to decipher these odors. Not just that, but here's something wild. This is the chemical indole. In small concentrations, we associate it with something flowery, but in large concentrations, it smells like poo. What we experience in our reality is just a tiny fraction of the real world due to the evolutionary limitations imposed on our senses. Our brain is basically just winging it. Our brain takes all the information from our sensory organs and the output is just what it thinks is happening and what it thinks you need to know. So technically, we've never actually experienced real life. At best, you've only experienced a heavily edited
words kids are saying nowadays and what they mean. Up first, 6'7". Yo, coach, how tall are you? 6'7". Yo, coach, what'd I make on that test? 6'7". 6'7". Okay, you probably heard a lot of kids saying this, a lot of students saying this. It's literally a lyric from a song. It's an edit of LaMelo Ball because he's 6'7". So anytime kids can say a number now or just a question that pertains to a number, they say 6'7". It's just a lyric to a song. Next one, friggin' packet. Friggin' packet. Yo, coach, just give us a friggin' packet. Coach, another friggin' packet? Friggin' packet. Basically what that means is just, it's an old video of this student calling out his teacher for just giving them packets or friggin' packets every day. So you probably hear this outside of school, but you're definitely going to hear it in school. But all it means is just keep doing what you're doing and just give us the same old, because you don't really care. So just give us the friggin' packet.